hate to break it to you, but your nervous system does not want you to be successful. And this doesn't mean that you won't be successful. This doesn't mean that you can't work very hard. You absolutely can. But as driven women, if you're watching this, you are likely very, very ambitious and you have big goals, but maybe you are running into these blocks, these patterns that continue this cycle of self sabotage. And the reason for this is because your nervous system is wired to prevent you from succeeding. So, if you're new here, I am Savannah, and this is my channel, Embody Her Now, where we talk about all things healing, regulating your nervous system, subconscious rewiring, all of that inner deep work so that we can unlock more of our soul purpose, more of our soul essence, our divine gifts, to where our success is naturally attracted to us. We don't have to work very, very hard to achieve the things that we desire in life. We just naturally become an energetic match for them because we're no longer carrying the frequencies within our energy body that are negative and that are blocking our abundance that is truly meant for us. So let's dive into the nervous system and why it actually doesn't want us to succeed. So, the whole purpose of the nervous system is to protect us and keep us alive. So, when we think about the energy of survival and keeping us alive, we have to understand that predictability and comfort all go hand in hand with survival, because when we look at it from a perspective of when we actually needed to go out and get food, like go hunt and um, find an animal for food, and we had to build our own homes for shelter and safety. Those were all things that we had to go do. We had to expend our energy in order to survive. So when you think about that concept, our body is always subconsciously looking for ways to conserve energy, because at one point in time in past generations, we had to actually expend energy in order to survive. So it was actually very, very important that the body found ways to conserve that energy so that we were more likely to survive. You can see how that is what it is wired for. It's always looking for ways to keep us safer, to reserve our energy, to protect us, and to predict different things from happening and coming in. So when we think about you being a very driven, ambitious woman, wanting to succeed beyond what the average person succeeds, and you dream big, and you enjoy putting yourself in a uncomfortable state in uncomfortable situations because you can feel yourself stretching and expanding into a whole new level of you, a new version of you, which is the exact opposite of what our nervous system is wired to do, what it is trained to do. Now, the women that I work with specifically, especially in my one-on-one containers, is they've gotten to a point where they have mastered their nervous system and they've rewired so much of their brain to operate from a completely different autopilot than what our natural biology is used to. And because they've gotten to that level, they know how to, I guess you could use the word manipulate their nervous system to operate at a whole new level than the average individual who is working really hard to build a super successful life, and they're working against their nervous system so much harder than someone like, for example, one of my clients who has been doing the work to master her nervous system, rewire her subconscious. She's not having to work as hard against her nervous system because she's done that foundational work. And now the work in her world looks more like regulating her nervous system to hold new levels of success. So she's trained it and wired it to already have this ability to hold more abundance and more success. Her nervous system is now calibrated to those higher levels to where it's no longer trying to sabotage what she's achieved and what she's trying to achieve. The new paradigm shift that she's in is she's constantly upgrading her nervous system to hold more and more and more. And I'm seeing a lot of business mentors and coaches recently, at least on my algorithm, talking about how the nervous system, like people are using the excuse that the nervous system is the reason why they can't succeed. And to some degree, this is actually true. And they're saying, some of what I've seen is that they're saying that that's just an excuse, that people just don't want to work hard. And I personally don't believe this, at least with the pool of women that I coach and mentor. The women that I work with, they have no problem working hard and taking action in putting in the work. They don't have, that's not the problem, and I don't have to teach that to driven women. They are very coachable and they will implement action wherever you tell them to implement action. But there is, to some degree, this level of getting your nervous system calibrated to the version of you that you are wanting to become and the life that you are wanting to attract. That is very, very true and a very, very real thing, where I personally dealt with this for a good 3 to 4 years, where it felt like I was working really, really hard at growing a business and not seeing a whole lot of results. But here I was, a really hardworking, ambitious woman, putting in the work, doing the things my coaches were telling me to do, and yet I either felt like it was so much effort put in for very little reward, which with business, there's obviously a timeline of that for most people. But for as long as I experienced it, I really had to start asking myself questions on what is the real reason as to why I am not where I say I want to be, when I have no problem working hard. I have no problem hustling. And the thing that got super, super clear to me was that I was wired for survival. I wasn't wired for expansion. And that really needs to be the big shift that happens, because up until this point, for most humans, their nervous system could only ever be wired for survival, because a majority of people weren't living in this modern world where all of our basic survival needs are essentially taken care of. For the majority of people, at least if you're watching this, a majority of our basic survival needs are taken care of. Therefore, the purpose of the nervous system starts to shift, because even though our basic survival needs are now, we don't have to think about them, we don't have to go out and expend energy and perform in life-threatening tasks in order to survive, those things, those needs are covered now. So now it's like our nervous system is trying to still find ways to run and to serve us and to help us, but like I said, we don't need it in the same purpose. Of course we will want it to activate if there truly ever is a life-threatening situation, and it will do that. But now that we're living in this modern society, we have to our nervous system hasn't evolved with this modern society yet. And that's the work that we do in my containers is we first of all regulate the nervous system. You have to learn how to actually regulate your nervous system. You have to understand the language of your body and when the nervous system is trying to kick in. And for most women, that isn't something that they're hyper aware of. It's kind of like a background noise for them, and they've just learned how to push and power through it. So that is one of the first things that women in who especially come through my program 6 weeks to release old identities and embody your soul essence, that is one of the first things that they learn, and it becomes a foundation for them. So anytime they do notice that their nervous system is trying to revert and shift into survival, and because that's what it's wired to do, they are so much more aware of it. And then they also have the resources and tools to know how to actually take it out of survival and bring it back into this calm, relaxed state. Once you master that, then that's when you learn how to start recalibrating your nervous system to new and higher and more successful levels that you're working towards. You basically train your nervous system to hold that version of you while you're still putting in the work over here. So you're calibrating your nervous system to hold more, and you're putting in the work, and you're working on getting to that version of you. And then once you get to that version of you, you achieve the goals that you set out to achieve, or you attract and manifest the things that you wanted. Your nervous system is already calibrated or very close to being able to hold all of that without feeling uncomfortable, without feeling too expansive, because it seems like a silly thing that our nervous system would freak out when we finally achieve the thing that we really wanted. But ultimately, what's going on in these scenarios is when we achieve things that are something we've never achieved before, or maybe we've had it on our vision board for a long time, and then we experience it, and to have it, you actually experience a new frequency, because that is a whole different version of you that has the thing. Therefore, you vibrate at a different frequency. And when you start vibrating at a different frequency that is completely foreign to your nervous system actually starts freaking out because it thinks that it's actually in danger. So that's essentially, from an energetic standpoint, what is happening when we attract something into our life that we say we really want, and then we end up sabotaging it. It's because your nervous system isn't used to vibrating at that frequency. Therefore, it's going to do everything it can to remove that thing so you can return back to the other frequency that you were used to and vibrating at. So that's why in my work with my clients, we're always recalibrating our nervous system to hold more. So then when we finally get to it and we receive the things, we manifest the things, it's not this big shock wave into our system where our nervous system completely freaks out and does everything it can to go back to the vibration that it was at before. So I hope that that's making sense, and maybe giving you some relief if you have been working really, really hard towards a goal and haven't achieved it yet, or you've had a lot of big dreams, a lot of big visions, and they feel really, really far away. There's a lot more energy work and inner work that you can do to speed up this process to where you're not having to work so hard. You can actually use quantum physics to start attracting more instead of doing so much more. And then again, creating an energy body that can hold those things that you want, so you're not constantly worrying about sabotaging them. So if this is the work that you know you need to close the gap of where you are currently at and where you are wanting to go, especially in 2026, I have a my signature program called 6 Weeks to Release Old Identities and Embody Your Soul Essence. And it teaches you the exact framework that I have gone through, that clients have gone through, in order to really rewire your brain and regulate your nervous system to get it to a calm state and to start calibrating those physical aspects of you to your future timeline, to the version of you that you are wanting to become, that you are wanting to shift into. You can actually hack, as you can say, you can hack the system, the physical system, to do that and manifest that faster. And this program is currently available within my waitlist right now. So you have to join the waitlist, and we are reopening the program in early January 2026, which is in a few short months. So if you know that that is the type of work that you need, be sure to join that waitlist, and you will be notified once the program is available. You will get the best deal available for just being on the waitlist. And if you're watching this beyond January 2026, the link will be below for you to join the program. So I hope that this video was helpful, and if it was, be sure to like and subscribe, and stay tuned, turn on the notifications for more content all about nervous system regulation, subconscious rewiring, and healing your energy.